Welcome back to Derby Date Night. You are joining us for Game 6 of Smalltown Smackdown Tournament of Champions, where we've got South Bend versus Chicago. And we are just getting started with this game. South Bend and Chicago both won their games earlier today, and this is the cream of the crop bracket, and we have got Miss Mayhem jamming for Chicago, and Lotta Pushy is lead jammer for South Bend and is currently on a scoring pass. Miss Mayhem getting out of the pack for her initial. Lotta Pushy calls the jam after scoring 4 points for South Bend Roller Derby. If you haven't been with us for the beginning of the day today, we have been live since, I think, 8 a.m. We have 8 teams participating in this tournament. All 8 teams have had their first games, and we are now in our championship bracket. We just finished a game with Rock and Lansing, with Rock moving on to the championship, which will happen tomorrow. And then this game will determine who Rock is playing in that championship game tomorrow at 5 p.m. We also are experiencing a few technical difficulties, so we do not have access to the scoreboard to be able to show that to you, but I will be trying to update you as much as I can as the game progresses, so you can keep on top of the score and know what's going on. That is Pulverizing Pixie for South Bend, who is going to be your lead jammer. Penalty to South Bend there on that one. So we've got the jammer in the box and now a blocker joining her in the box. Chicago jammer is Bunny Sanders. Bunny getting out and becoming lead jammer there, as Pixie is now out of the box and rejoining on, I believe that was a scoring pass. Nope, that was an initial, so no scoring pass there. Bunny Sanders calls the jam, but not before scoring some points. Chicago with 8 and South Bend with 4. Again, Derby Date Night brought to you by me, Aria Kidding Me, and my husband, Sirius Lee. We're here all day providing you with some Derby. We've also got some amazing volunteers on camera. We've got our son, OMG. We've also got his best friend, Grant, on one of our cameras, and we've got one of our Corn-Fed Skaters partners on our third camera. So thanks so much to our camera people. Without them, this stream would definitely not be anywhere close as good as it is. South Bend establishing lead jammer there. That's Candace Mansfield, who is going to be your lead jammer for South Bend. I think that's Sin and Sugar jamming for Chicago, being forced to recycle to the back. Candace also going to the recycled to the back. Sin and Sugar is getting sent to the penalty box, so this will be a power jam opportunity for Candace Mansfield. Currently, this is a tie game, 8-8. So this is a great opportunity for Candace to try and score some points and see what she can do while Sin and Sugar is in the penalty box. That is another 4 points, bringing that lead to 12-8. As we get started, this has just been such a quick first 5 minutes of this game, and we're already getting those points well established here. Candace sliding through on the outside for another 4 points. Sin and Sugar standing in the penalty box will be re-entering now to start trying to score some points of her own. Getting a little bit stuck there. Both jammers getting stuck against these really strong walls. Woo. Sin and Sugar finding some space there to get through. And that jam is called. South Bend 16, Chicago, is that 18? It's either 16 or 18 because I can't tell looking at the scoreboard. So 16 or 18 to Chicago Styles 8. All right, a lot of pushy sneaking through on the inside line to establish lead jammer. And for Chicago, we have got Bat Hit Crazy skating for Chicago. Has that jammer panty off, might be looking for a pivot to pass it to. A lot of pushy entering the pack on her initial. Those Chicago walls, man, tough to get through. A lot of pushy squeezing through on the inside line. Bat Hit Crazy is out of their initial and was coming in to try and score points, but Pushy was able to call the jam before then. 22, South Bend, 8, Chicago. All right, I think that's Candace Mansfield lining up for South Bend. And quickly establishing lead jammer status there. Or is that Pixie? That's Pulverizing Pixie. Establishing lead jammer there. And Chicago jammer. Is Recco Warrior. Pulverizing Pixie looking for some space here, trying to find it on the inside, has to take a step back, but is able to sweep over to the outside to get through that pack. Recco Warrior also Recco Warrior is headed to the penalty box. So this will be a power jam for Pulverizing Pixie. Tear him up, providing some great offense to help Pulverizing Pixie get through for another 4 points. Recco Warrior out of the penalty box. No, Recco Warrior is standing. One of the Chicago blockers came out of the penalty box. Pulverizing Pixie coming in on another pass here. Recco Warrior out of the penalty box now. Pulverizing Pixie calling the jam before Recco Warrior can do any damage. But Pulverizing Pixie sure did a little bit of damage, and Chicago Style Roller Derby has 9 points to South Bend's 36. All right, quickly establishing lead jammer is Miss Mayhem for Chicago. Not far behind, though, is Candace Mansfield, who will be your jammer for South Bend. Miss Mayhem entering the pack on her first scoring pass. Candace Mansfield sneaking through on the inside line to steal 4 points. Miss Mayhem looking for some space on the inside line as well, is able to find it and calls the jam. So both jammers scoring 4 points. No change in lead, no change in point spread on that jam. A lot of pushy lining up for South Bend, and Bunny Sanders lining up for Chicago. A lot of pushy through on the inside line to establish herself as lead jammer. Bunny trying to get some offensive help here to get out. Takes a push to the inside. Is trying to get through. Has to get past one more blocker as a lot of pushy is entering the pack from the back. Trying to start scoring some points. Bunny is able to get out and will now be coming in on a scoring pass if A Lot of Pushy does not call the jam before Bunny reaches the pack. Looks like Pushy's going to let this run. So both Pushy and Bunny are in the pack at this point. Pushy getting some offensive help from the pivot for South Bend. Captain Beefstock with great assist there to help Pushy get through to score 4 more points. South Bend 48, Chicago Style 16. Chicago Style 16, correction. With 19 minutes left in the first half. All right, Chicago Style, bat hit crazy, establishing themselves as lead jammer. Pulverizing Pixie taking off that jammer star, possibly looking for the pivot, tear him up for a pass, decides not to and decides to just sneak through the inside line instead. Bat hit crazy getting recycled to the back by tear him up. Bat hit crazy deciding to call that jam before Pixie can come through and score any points, but not before stealing some points of their own. Chicago Style Roller Derby 19, South Bend 48. Was that Candy and not Pixie? Thank you. Sorry, that was Candy. All right, South Bend. This is Candace Mansfield for South Bend. And Chicago looks like we've got Sin and Sugar, who is working their way to get that initial, while Candace sails through for 4 points on her scoring pass. We've got a South Bend blocker headed to the box here. Candace Mansfield entering on another scoring pass, is able to get through there. Sin and Sugar is, it looks like there was, okay, where did Sin and Sugar go? I am wondering if Sin and Sugar is in the box because I can't find, nope, there's Sin and Sugar. All right. Candace coming through for another 4 points here. Sin and Sugar entering the pack, needs to pass one blocker because a lot of South Bend's blockers have ended up in the penalty box there. Okay, Candace continuing to run it, having a very successful jam here for South Bend, while South Bend has been playing merry-go-round in the penalty box here. Lots of people spending time there. Now we've got a Chicago player entering the penalty box as well. You know, sometimes a nice 30-second break in the penalty box can be nice just to settle down. But unfortunately, you only get 7 in a game, so you got to be careful not to visit it too much. I say as Candace comes through for another 4 points. Sin and Sugar having a little bit of a tumble and just needs to get past 26 from South Bend. And now one more blocker from South Bend gets pushed to the outside as Candace comes in on another scoring pass, is able to get through for another 4 points, bringing the total to 72 for South Bend. So Chicago is at a 27-point score right now. Candace sees the opportunity to do one of her apex jumps and does so to finish that jam. Huge scoring opportunity there for South Bend, 76 to 31.
And South Bend leads 76 to 31. 15:40 left in the half.
Okay, a lot of pushy jamming for South Bend. And who is that for Chicago Style? Is that Miss Mayhem? That is Miss Mayhem for Chicago Style. A lot of pushy is your lead jammer for South Bend. Miss Mayhem trying to get out, but getting recycled to the back by, oh, who is that? That is Captain Beefstock, who was able to keep Miss Mayhem from getting out. A lot of pushy is entering the pack on a scoring pass, sees that Miss Mayhem has gotten out and decides to call the jam before Miss Mayhem can score any points. I think that looks like an 80 for South Bend. 14 minutes and 34 seconds left in this first half. I can't tell if that's an 80 or an 89. I think it's an 80. Oh, if it's 80, then there's a corn joke because we have gone over 50. So at the next time out, we will be giving a corn joke because we've scored over 50 points here. So I think that's Pulverizing Pixie for South Bend. And jamming for Chicago is Recco Warrior. Recco Warrior getting pushed to the outside. They are being forced to recycle by Tear 'em Up. Pulverizing Pixie threw for 4 points for South Bend. While Recco Warrior is resetting and looking for some help from her defense. Pulverizing Pixie approaching the pack, sweeping to the outside, takes a little bit of a hit there from, I think that was Poppy Rotzi. Pulverizing Pixie threw for another 4 points. Recco Warrior still struggling to get through, hoping for some help here from the other players who are really needing to focus on blocking Pulverizing Pixie. So both jammers really focused on some hard walls here, who are really holding those jammers in those walls. But Recco Warrior was able to find that space there to be able to get out. Pulverizing Pixie notices that and calls the jam. 92 for South Bend to Chicago 31. And since we have earned a corn joke here, let's see. The cornfield was relieved when it heard it was going to rain. Phew, he said, that's music to my ears. As we start the next jam, that is Candace Mansfield as your lead jammer for South Bend. Chicago receiving some offensive help from Donna Z. Dead. That jammer is Bunny Sanders. Bunny's still getting a little bit tangled up there in the pack while Candace Mansfield comes through for 4 more points. Candace sweeping to the inside, has to, oh, and she is called on, well, I don't have my ref next to me, so called on a penalty. I'm not sure which one. Maybe the chat knows. But this will now be a power jam for Bunny Sanders and Chicago Style Roller Derby. Bunny looking for some offensive help there. Trying to take opportunity with this power jam. And that will be 4 points for Chicago Style. Ooh, Lynn, what did the green bean say to the other green bean? What did the green bean say to the other green bean? I'm not sure. I think that corn is stalking me. A corn stalk. But Candace out of the pack, out of the box, and scoring some points. Bringing South Bend's total to 100, which means another corn joke with another 50 points. Chicago Style at 35. Bunny Sanders working real hard and earning every single one of those points that they are getting. We've got 10 minutes left in this half. Candace Mansfield with a teeny tiny little apex jump, but is unfortunately needing to recycle there to earn those points. Bunny Sanders working their way through the pack as well. And that jam will end with South Bend at 104 and Chicago at 39. And since we have another 50 points on the board, that means it's time for another corn joke. I gave a huge sum of money to a corn farmer. I was a bit nervous because it was a major stock investment. It's a good finance corn joke. I'm sure from our last game, Chad would appreciate a finance joke. Just sounds like something someone named Chad would appreciate. I know. I should, since my husband's name is Josh, we should change the Chad slander to Josh slander. He disagrees. All right, since we're in a timeout, maybe we can do one more corn joke. If you want to buy some pirate corn, it is going to cost you a buccaneer. Again, the winner of this game will go on to the championship game tomorrow at 5 p.m. to play Rock Central Kentucky Roller Derby in our championship for Smalltown Smackdown Tournament of Champions. 10 minutes left in this game. South Bend 104, Chicago 39. A lot of pushy jamming for South Bend and will be lead jammer. Jamming for Chicago is Bat Hit Crazy. A lot of pushy entering the pack on her first scoring pass. Little baby apex jump to score those 4 points there. Bat Hit Crazy able to get through on their initial. Needing to put that star back on before they can score any points. Let's see if Pushy is going to call the jam or let Bat Hit Crazy try and score some points. Looks like Pushy is not going to call the jam, so both jammers are engaged in the packs. Pushy gets through for those 4 points. Bat needing to get through one more blocker. Pushy calls that jam, but not before scoring some points there. Chicago 43, South Bend 112. Nine minutes left in the first half. It's another fast-moving game. South Bend was part of a fast-moving game earlier, so I'm thinking that the common factor here might be South Bend. Pixie jamming for South Bend, establishing themselves as lead jammer. Coming out about half a track behind them is Miss Mayhem, who will be your jammer for Chicago. Pixie entering the pack, getting pushed to the outside, sweeping to the inside, looking to try and make some way right up the middle. Pixie gets out and decides to call the jam. Let's see if Mayhem was able to steal any points there. Looks like Mayhem was able to grab 2 points. Bringing South Bend's total to 116. Chicago style, 43. I think it should be 45. There it is, 45. 116-45 with 8 minutes left in the first half. This is a fast half so far, which is good because we're running behind. So maybe it will continue. I just jinxed it. It's over. It's over. We have one more game after this. Corn-Fed, the hosts of this game, will be playing Louisville. Oh, beautiful from Candace Mansfield on 1 foot to be able to stay in those inside in the lines and be able to get that lead jammer status. For Chicago, we've got Sin and Sugar working their way through the pack as Candace comes into the pack again. Sin and Sugar has that pivot panty off or jammer panty off and might be looking for a pivot to pass it to. Candace getting a little bit not as smooth of a time through the pack this time, is looking for a little bit of help from her defense. Is able to get it and gets through for 4 points. Sin and Sugar still a little bit stuck in that pack. Candace trying to find some space and finds it for 4 more points. Sin and Sugar looks like it's headed to the penalty box. Does not have the star on, but I think is in there as the jammer. Candace coming in on a scoring pass here. Strong blocking wall from Chicago. It is hard to make any movement there. Gets pushed to the inside, and Candace decides to call it at that point and leave Sin and Sugar in the penalty box. So the next jam will start as a power jam for South Bend. South Bend 127 to Chicago 45 with 6 minutes remaining. Pushy lining up for South Bend. Sin and Sugar is standing. So Pushy will be establishing herself as lead jammer before Sin and Sugar can get out of the box. Pushy coming around on a scoring pass here. Sin and Sugar re-entering the track will be on her initial, so will not be scoring in this pass. Has to get past all of the blockers first. Pushy through for 4 points. Big hit from South Bend's, who is that? Undertaker, slowing Sin and Sugar down after a lot of Pushy comes through for 4 points, and a lot of Pushy is already through again to try and get through that pack a second time, and does so for another 4 points. Sin and Sugar taking a big hit to the outside, being forced to recycle as Pushy comes around on a third scoring pass. South Bend had 2 blockers in the box, but now has 1 blocker in the box, so everybody's kind of visiting the penalty box. Sin and Sugar gets out of the pack, but Pushy calls the jam before Sin and Sugar can score any points. South Bend 136 to Chicago's 45 with only 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in this half. This is frickin' fast. Don't forget you're watching Derby Date Night. Please like and subscribe. We've really been enjoying bringing this tournament to you and having all of you here in the chat enjoying our corny puns and fun commentary. Hope you've been having as good of a time today as we have. Nice hit from Beefstock to force Chicago Bunny Sanders to recycle towards the back, while Pulverizing Pixie is, I don't know where she came from, but Pulverizing Pixie is here as the jammer from South Bend and is able to get through, but is not lead jam. Is anybody lead jammer? Yes, she is lead jammer. Pulverizing Pixie from South Bend. Bunny, another hit from Beefstock. Whew. I'm tired just looking at that. Great job. Bunny coming in, taking a little bit of assessment to try and figure out what the next move will be. Pulverizing Pixie entering the pack on another scoring pass. Really quick juke to the outside to get around a Chicago blocker. To the delight of the crowd. Pulverizing Pixie again on another scoring pass. We're about to go over the 150 mark here, I think, for South Bend with 2 minutes and 58 seconds left in this half. Oh, no. Pulverizing Pixie is going to be sent. Nope, they changed their mind. They thought, go to the penalty box? No, never mind. You can stay. So Pulverizing Pixie not going to the penalty box. Chicago is, let's see, no star has been passed. Pulverizing Pixie coming through for another 4 points here. Bunny is looking for some help, I think, from the pivot. A pass has been completed, so I believe and that jam will end with South Bend Roller Derby at 160 points to Chicago Roller Derby's 45 with 2 minutes left in this first half. And that means we are time for another corn joke. since we have gotten another 50 points on the board. Some corn fell out of a lady's grocery bag when she was walking down the street. I shouted after her, but my words fell on deaf ears. Ears, corn. I mean, they can't all be amazing jokes. We've got an official timeout happening, so I'll give you an extra corn joke for this official timeout. The corn was worried he had a cough. His voice was getting a little bit husky. Oh, that one got an actual laugh out of seriously. I think that's the first time he's laughed out loud at one of these corny jokes. Oh, he says he's tired. Or maybe they're actually funny. Loopy. Getting a little loopy. So while we are paused for this official timeout, I will remind you that there is a digital program that you can find if you go to any of Corn-Fed Roller Derby's social medias, and you can vote for your fan favorite. At the end of the tournament tomorrow, one skater from each team will be chosen as a fan favorite. So if you want to show your love for one of the skaters, go ahead and go find that digital program and the instructions on how to vote for your fan favorite. We will be having one more game after this one tonight. So we will have our last game of the night tonight between Louisville and Corn-Fed Roller Derby. That game is slated to start at 8 o'clock. Again, we're running a little bit behind schedule, so it will start as soon as it can after this game. If we continue to go as fast as we have been, we might be making up some time. Who knows? And then tomorrow morning, we will start this all over again at 9 o'clock with a game between Circle City and Cape Girardeau, who I learned to say earlier today, so I'm very proud of myself for that. All right, we are back to the Derby. Chicago quickly coming out with lead jammer. Bat hit crazy. Candace Mansfield passing bat hit crazy and forcing a call off there. With 1 minute and 30 seconds left, we have time for one, maybe two more jams before we go to the halftime. We've been having 10-minute halftime, so don't go too far, but go ahead and grab a snack, some water. Cheese, a favorite of Derby Date Night over here. We are big fans of cheese and corn. So that official review was a South Bend review looking for a forearm from a Chicago blocker. They did not get it, and so they will not retain that official review. A lot of pushy lead jammer for South Bend. And Miss Mayhem is jamming for Chicago, coming about a quarter track behind Pushy. Pushy deciding to run this jam. We've got 30 seconds left in the half here. Miss Mayhem forced to the back by a South Bend blocker. Pushy looking for some space, getting a little bit tangled up here with 18 seconds left in this first half. Pushy gets through for 4 points. Miss Mayhem still trying to find that space, getting a push to the outside, and is going to be forced to recycle. That looks like that was Beef Stock again. Beef Stock is just, making this a tiring game for the Chicago Jammers. Pushy getting into the pack again, trying to score some points here. The period clock has run out, so this will be the last jam of the half. Pushy calling it, but not before scoring some points. We are going into the half with a score of 172 South Bend to 48 Chicago. And we will be back in 10 minutes after a small break. Welcome back to Derby Date Night. Again, technical difficulties leaving us to have a little bit more of a break than we thought, but that meant that Derby Date Night family night was a pasta night. So thank you to our wonderful hospitality group who are providing volunteers and officials and NSOs with some food, and so we are appreciative to be able to get some dinner tonight. Delicious pasta, and those brownies, amazing. I've been giving out brownie points tonight, and you definitely get brownie points for those brownies. Thank you guys in hospitality. We really appreciate you. As we start this second half, Pulverizing Pixie is going to establish lead jammer for South Bend. Oh, big, huge hit from, who was that from South Bend? That was beautiful. That was Undertaker. Big hit on Bat Hit Crazy as Pulverizing Pixie comes through on a scoring pass. Bat Hit Crazy able to get out of the pack, and Pulverizing Pixie entering the pack on another scoring pass. Calling the jam before Bat Hit Crazy can score any points. South Bend 180 to Chicago 48. Candace Mansfield lining up for South Bend Roller Derby. And Miss Maven is going to be jamming for Chicago Roller Derby. Candace is going to be your lead jammer. Coming in on a scoring pass. Miss Maven getting out. No, Miss Maven is your lead jammer. Candace is about half a lap behind her. Miss Maven getting through, grabbing some points and calling that jam. So Chicago Style scoring 8 points in that jam, bringing them to 56 to South Bend's 184. Sin and Sugar jamming for Chicago, and a lot of Pushy jamming for South Bend. Both jammers getting a little bit stuck in the packs here. Penalty called on a South Bend pivot, looks like. Both jammers still looking to find some space, and that lead jammer status is going to go to Sin and Sugar. But a lot of Pushy is getting out as well and is in front of Sin and Sugar. So Sin and Sugar is going to need to decide whether or not she's going to let Pushy score any points, and she decides, no, I don't think so, and no points will be scored in that jam. As Chicago has reached over 50 points, being at 56, that means that we get to have another corn joke. Some corn, a carrot, and a cucumber all fell into the ocean, so now they are all seafood. That's a nice one. Multi-vegetable joke, not just corn. We're equal opportunity vegetable jokes here. Pulverizing Pixie coming through to establish lead jammer status for South Bend, followed closely behind by Recco Warrior for Chicago Style. Pulverizing Pixie coming in on her first scoring pass. Calls the jam, hoping that Recco Warrior was not able to steal any points there, but it looks like some points might have been stolen from Chicago. So our score right now will be 186 to 58. We've got 25 minutes left in this game. Candace Mansfield, lead jammer for South Bend, followed closely behind by One Hit Crazy. Candace with a signature apex jump to score some points and call the jam, bringing South Bend's score to 190. Bushy lining up as jammer for South Bend. And it looks like Bunny Sanders for Chicago. Bushy finding some space to establish lead jammer status for South Bend. Bunny taking that jammer hat off and possibly looking for a pivot to pass to, or maybe trying to find some space to get through. Bushy entering the pack on her first scoring pass, goes to the inside and scores those 4 points. Bunny is out of the pack. Bushy passing Bunny. Does not look like she's planning on calling it here. So both jammers are going to enter that pack and attempt to score some points. Bushy getting through for 4 points. Bunny trying to find some space around this strong South Bend blocker quadrant. Bushy coming through again for another 4 points, bringing South Bend's total to 202, so going over that 200 mark. Bunny finding some space and is now out of the pack. Bushy entering the pack again, scoring another 4 points, bringing their total to 206 to Chicago's 62. Pulverizing Pixie lining up for South Bend, and I think Miss Maven for Chicago. Pulverizing Pixie will be South Bend's lead jammer. Miss Mayhem looking for some help, taking that jammer hat off. Potentially might be passing to a pivot here. Pulverizing Pixie entering the pack on her first scoring pass. Jukes to the outside. And back to the inside. Getting a little bit stuck in there. Miss Maven did not pass, but was able to get out. So we'll be coming around on a scoring pass here. Pulverizing Pixie looking to find some space, get out, decides, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to call it and make sure that Chicago's not able to score any points here. So currently we are at 209 to 62. And since we're above 200, that means it's time for another corn jokes. But you know what? I don't really like corn jokes. I find them a bit too difficult to digest. But honestly, corn is a very good listener. You know why? Because they're all ears. With that groan-inducing joke, we're back to the Derby action as Candace Mansfield establishes lead jammer for South Bend. Bat Hit Crazy pushing as hard as they can. Just has to get past Taram up here, who is blocking. Oh, beautiful apex jump from Candace. Bat Hit Crazy out of the pack. Candace scoring. Oh, Candace headed to the penalty box. So this will be a power jam for Bat Hit Crazy and Chicago. Bat finding some space on the outside to get through for 4 points. Bat coming around again to see if they can continue to capitalize on this power jam. Getting a little bit stuck. Looking for some offense. They open up the inside line. Bat just has to get through 2 South Bend blockers. Is trying. Oh, that pack is reforming up right around Bat, and Candace is back in the pack now and is able to get through that pack. Great defense there by Tear 'em Up, and I think that was Megatron. No, that's Chicago. Hold on. Merodactyl. No, Spins McGee, because there was lots of spinning, of course. Spins McGee. That hit crazy, able to get out of the pack there. Candace Mansfield following behind after scoring another 4 points. Both jammers about to enter that pack. Bat taking a hit from Tear 'em Up, but able to stay in bounds to score 4 points. Candace not able to get any on that that time around the track. So South Bend at 221 and Chicago Style at 78. With 18 minutes left on the game clock. Don't forget, we still have another game after this. We've got Louisville, who will be playing the hosts of our tournament, Corn-Fed Roller Derby. And then I get to go to sleep, which is becoming more and more exciting. And then we've got 5 more games tomorrow, so you get to stick around with us and enjoy some more roller derby. A lot of pushy lead jammer for South Bend, followed by Sin and Sugar. A lot of pushy, seeing a big wide open space on the inside line, is able to sail right through. Sin and Sugar coming around, has got 2 South Bend blockers that she's going to need to contend with. Pushy coming into the pack and sailing through for 4 more points. Sin getting a little bit tangled up here, getting pushed to the outside line. Pushy coming around, getting stuck in the pack for the first time in this jam, but able to find some space or create some space for herself, it looked like, and get through for 4 points. Sin trying to find space, looking for some help from her defense here as Pushy enters the pack again. Sin is able to, no, Sin was, yep, Sin did not pass it. So Sin is still the jammer, but has gotten out of the pack. Pushy, seeing that, decides to call the jam before Sin can score any points. 237 South Bend, Chicago 82 with 17 minutes left. Pulverizing Pixie jamming for South Bend, and looks like no, that's not Miss Maven. That is Recco Warrior, who is going to have a penalty and go take 30 seconds in the penalty box. So this will be a power jam for South Bend. Pixie getting pushed to the outside, but tiptoes along it and stays in to score 4 points there. Pixie coming around again on another scoring pass here. Getting a little bit of offensive help from Beefstock. Recco Warrior is standing, and we'll have 10 seconds left in that penalty as Pixie comes around on a 3rd scoring pass. Recco is back in, and now South Bend will be focusing on blocking. So Pulverizing Pixie is almost out, but ends up getting pushed to the outside and needing to recycle. Recco Warrior is through. That was an initial, though, so there will be no points scored yet. Pixie is out. Recco Warrior gets through, but is pushed to the outside and is forced to recycle behind the pack. Pixie is also in the pack. Both jammers getting a little bit stuck. Recco getting pushed. That jam is called by Pixie, but not before, bringing us past the 250 mark for South Bend. So 253 South Bend, 285 Chicago, which means it's time for another corn joke. Oh, I am so close to out of corn jokes. We might have to switch to something else in the next game. The baby corn wanted a pet, so his mama decided to buy the baby a corn dog. I'm only going to do one joke at a time because we're running low. We now have a timeout. I love this. South Bend is doing another one of their stretching exercises during their timeout, and so this will be my time to also take a minute to chill, meditate a little bit, think about things while we prepare for the last 14 minutes of this game. Again, thanks for joining us tonight. As we finish up this first day of Smalltown Smackdown, we will be having one more game tonight, which will be Louisville versus Corn-Fed Roller Derby, which will happen right after this one. I know the schedule says it starts at 8. We're running a little bit behind today, so probably I'm guessing we'll start closer to 8:45 or 9 o'clock. And then tomorrow morning, bright and early, we will start with Circle City versus Cape Girardeau. And then at 11 o'clock, we will have Lansing playing the loser of this game, followed by another Aw Shucks bracket game, depending upon how the next few games go. And then we'll have some of our ribbon placing games where we will determine who ends up in first place all the way down to 8th place. But regardless, if you've participated in Smalltown Smackdown, I think you're a winner no matter what. Candace Mansfield jamming for South Bend. And let's see, I think that's Bunny for Chicago. Candace Mansfield, who I'm hearing is being called Candyland by quite a few people, is through on her first scoring pass, as Bunny is going to be sent to the penalty box, so this will be a power jam for South Bend. Candace getting some shout outs from the crowd and giving the crowd a little bit of attitude before demonstrating her strength with a apex jump to grab 4 more points for South Bend. The Chicago Jammer is been released from the penalty box and will be coming back in. Candace attempts another apex jump. It is not successful and calls the jam from the floor, stating, "We're done with that one. Let's move on." 13 minutes left in this game. South Bend 265 to Chicago's 85. I've been told we just crossed the 12-hour mark of streaming today, so thanks to those of you who have been with us from the beginning. We're having a great time, and we've got a few more hours in us before sleep will be calling us and hopefully coming quickly once we get home. Luckily, we live literally 5 minutes away, so it won't take us long to get there. A lot of pushy, lead jammer for South Bend, followed by Miss Maven for Chicago. A lot of pushy, true to her name, pushing through this pack, getting pushed to the inside. That looked like Tasha Fierce from Chicago, slowing Pushy down a little bit there. Pushy's able to get through and grab those 4 points. Miss Maven trying to find some space in these, getting through these South Bend blockers here. Miss Maven is able to get through for 4 points of her own. Pushy through as well with 4 points too. Miss Maven entering the pack again. Has to get past, it looks like, only 2 South Bend blockers because people are enjoying taking a little bit of a break in the penalty box right now. Pushy coming around, getting 4 more points. There are now 3 South Bend blockers out there. Miss Maven getting a little bit of help from her teammate, Poppy Rotzi. Chicago's brought their score up to 93 so far in this jam. A lot of pushy. Sailing through there for another 4 points as Miss Maven is getting a little bit slowed down there. That jam will end. South Bend 285 to Chicago's 93. 10 minutes left in this game. All right, pulverizing Pixie lining up for South Bend. And bat hit crazy for Chicago. Pixie with a little hop on the outside, getting through to establish lead jammer. Bat hit crazy, pushing as hard as they can, is able to get out as well, about 3/4 of a lap behind, but racing as fast as they can. Pixie finding some space on the outside there to juke through for 4 points. Bat is approaching the pack. Almost all the way through, being forced to recycle. Pixie also engaged in the pack here. Getting a little bit slowed down. Pixie is out. Bat is through after scoring 4 points. Pixie is also, looks like took a little bit of a hit there from Megatron from Chicago and is going to be forced to recycle. Bat is entering that pack. Pixie finding space on the inside to get through for 4 points. And that jam is called. Chicago 96 and South Bend 297 with 8 minutes and 50 seconds left in this game. Thanks again for joining us here. We are Derby Date Night. You're with me, Aria Kidding Me, my husband, Seriously, and our fantastic helpers on camera. We've got our son, OMG, who has literally been on camera every single game today. His great friend, Grant, who's helping us out, and another one of our corn friends, Mark, who has been holding down turn 3 for us. Candace Mansfield coming out as your lead jammer for South Bend. And for Chicago, let's see who that is. That's Sin and Sugar, who is being forced to recycle by Starred Destroyer. Candace approaching the pack after getting some points to bring us into the 300 mark for the first time for South Bend. Is this the first game that's gone over 300? So South Bend setting a milestone for this 2023 Smalltown Smackdown. With 7 minutes left in this game, Candace coming through for another 4 points. Sin and Sugar getting pushed to the outside. Trying to find some space here. She's got the jammer star off and might be looking for the pivot, but is not because she's looking for the penalty box, it seems. A little bit of confusion, and she's not looking for the penalty box. She's going to come back in and try and see if she can find some space here and get through. Candace getting a little bit tangled up here with a really strong tripod from Chicago that is going to be holding her, but is able to get out. Looks to her coach to see what she's going to do next. Oh, Sin and Sugar, after all that hard work, unfortunately is going to be sent to the penalty box. So this will be a power jam for South Bend as Candace Mansfield comes into the pack to score another 4 points. And that jam will end with Sin and Sugar in the penalty box. So this next jam will start as a power jam for South Bend, which now South Bend is at 317 to Chicago's 96. I think you all know what that means. It's time for another corn joke. If you're ever left alone in a corn salesman's office, whatever you do not start snooping through his files. You know why? They are corn-fidential. Wah, wah, wah. A lot of Pushy will be your jammer for South Bend and will also be the lead jammer as Sin and Sugar waits in the penalty box for her turn to come out and try and score some points. 5 minutes, 30 seconds left in this game. Don't forget, we got one more game after this, so you've still got a little bit more derby in your Saturday night tonight before we transition from corn jokes to dad jokes for tomorrow's games. Pushy scoring those 4 points. Sin and Sugar has re-entered the track and is finding some space to get through and is not scoring points yet, but now as she comes around, we'll have the opportunity to score some points. Pushy is through for another 4 points as Sin coming around to try and score some points of her own. Pushy calls the jam. Let's see if Sin was able to grab any points. It looks like Sin was able to get 1 point, which brings Chicago to 97, closer to that century mark for Chicago with 4 minutes and 45 seconds left in this game. South Bend at 325, Chicago 97. Rico Warrior lining up for Chicago, and I think that's Pulverizing Pixie for South Bend. 4.5 minutes left in this game. Pixie is lead jammer for South Bend. Rico Warrior pushing through, trying to find that space, getting pushed to the outside by Beefstock, who will force Rico Warrior to go to the back of the pack. Pixie through for 4 points, bringing South Bend's total to 329. Rico out of the pack now, about half a track behind. Both jammers through for 4 points each. Oh, wait, I spoke too soon. Beefstock is saying, I'm slowing you down, but Rico Warrior still getting able to get through, and Beefstock is going to take a little visit to the penalty box. Not sure what happened there. Pulverizing Pixie through for 4 points. Rico Warrior approaching the pack again. There's a lot of confusion happening, and Rico's trying to take advantage of that to get through, but looks like, nope, they were able to make it through and score those 4 points. We are above the 100 mark for Chicago-style roller derby with 3 minutes left. South Bend at 341 at this point as Rico is approaching the pack again. Lots of scoring for both teams here. Rico sailing, or is that Recco Warrior? I've been saying it wrong the entire game. Recco Warrior. I don't know why I've been saying Rico. So, Recco working on getting as many points as they can. Pixie through for another 4. Recco pushing on the outside, has got 4 strong South Bend blockers needing to get through. Pixie approaching a big, strong wall from Chicago. Looking at both of these walls, working really hard, very strong. It's going to be hard to get through here. Great walls from both teams on that. Great jamming from both jammers. We are at 112 for Chicago, so they have broken that century mark, and South Bend is at 349. Okay, somebody wrote Rico, so maybe I am saying it wrong. You got to tell me if it's Rico or Recco. All right, got to do the last corn joke of this game, and it's the last one I've got. Someone told me they had a good corn pun. I live in a hut made from corn husks, so needless to say, I was all ears. Miss Mayhem trying to get lead jammer, and Chicago will establish lead jammer status. With a minute and a half left in this game, Candace Mansfield working on pushing her way through here. Wonderful job there. Miss Mayhem going, oh, that's such hard-earned lead jammer status. Miss Mayhem, unfortunately, is going to be serving a penalty and will be in the penalty box for 30 seconds. So Candace Mansfield will try and capitalize on this to score some more points for South Bend, which she's about to break that 350 mark, and I'm out of jokes, so we'll just have to say good job or corntastic job on getting past that 350 mark. We have 47 seconds left in this game. Miss Mayhem is standing. Rico, all right, it is Rico. I have been saying it correctly. Fabulous news. Candace threw for another 4 points as Miss Mayhem is coming out of the penalty box. This jam will go the full 2 minutes, and there is less time on the clock than there is in the jam, which means this will be the last jam of the game. So if things stand as they are, South Bend will be moving on to the championship game tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Chicago will be playing Lansing tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Both teams doing a fantastic job here. Everybody working so hard, and great game, fun game. Hope you stick around for the next one. We've still got one more tonight. Candace looking for some space. Everybody working as hard as they can all the way to the end of this jam. We have ended this game with an unofficial score of 361 to 116. And that will be South Bend moving on to the championship game tomorrow night of the Smalltown Smackdown Tournament of Champions. They will be battling for cream of the crop, while Chicago will be joining the Aw Shucks bracket to play Lansing tomorrow at 11. We'll be taking a short break and maybe be coming back in about 30 minutes for our final game of the night, Corn-Fed Roller Derby versus Louisville.